Farmer Courtney here, record-setting late-night recording session. Tonight is number 30, and I'm sure that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has had many late nights of exhaustion pushing through to accomplish a goal. So here we are again. Today in study group, we had a rich conversation about the impact that each one of us can have on other people in our life. And the conversation also turned to the first time that we came in contact with someone who turned our attention to that we should learn about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad or the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, or who mentioned the teachings, right? And so a fellow study group participant said that it was Public Enemy for him, but he lives in Serbia. So here's a Caucasian man who bears witness to the coming of Master Fard Muhammad, and he lives in Serbia, and how he was turned was from Chuck D and Public Enemy. And so it had me reflecting on how I was, really alerted to the existence of the teachings in a bold and loud manner, articulated in clear definition that this was a teaching from out of this world that I didn't know anything about. And that was from Dr. Khalid Muhammad. And so I was catching up with another sister after study group who was unable to join us today. And we were just building about sharing in real life with other, Caucasian people that we know. And my mind always turns to the blockages to having the conversation. In study group, Minister Abdul Hakim, he's always pushing us that learn how to communicate with those people around you. Okay, if you went that route and that didn't quite, that didn't land, they didn't connect with what you were saying, then learn a different way. Study, not so much hitting the books again to be able to just spout things, but study the interaction, study yourself, study the people, study who you're talking to, and be a more useful communicator, right? It's on us to have at least a better shot at being understood, right? Don't come at a situation that's completely a mismatch and an inappropriate way of communicating. So we were just talking about online interactions and things, because most of us have a lot of that going on in our lives, and pre-pandemic for me as well, because of my isolated setting. And so I was saying, most of the time I have pretty upful conversations, or genuinely inquisitive conversations, but I got a negative reaction from somebody that I personally know and used to know, because a lot of people would put me in boxes and assume, because I ate, organic, macrobiotic, brown rice, homeschooled, was into, a more natural educational setting, the Waldorf schools, natural fiber clothing, and that type of thing, that, I was in this box with them, and I would try to say, well, yeah, I'm a little bit different than that, or I don't quite think that. And I was in study mode because I did have several communication interactions where I just felt like, okay, it's definitely me, and I could have done better. And then I pulled way back and didn't talk hardly at all, and was always observing. And so, I'm working on coming into a better place with that. So as the experience was shared, from hearing about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan through a Public Enemy lyric, I was thinking about how, I heard Dr. Khalid Muhammad going off about lifting up the skirts of the Pope. And so I didn't have really any educational, or religious educational affinity or anything like that, but I definitely was from a Catholic family that I would classify more as a recovering Catholic family, because they went through Catholic school, so grammar school, high school, and college. And then they never talked to me about God. But we would go to the building. Like, I was familiar with church and all the rituals and everything that they would do, but they never talked to me about it. So I thought, oh, okay, because I always felt like it was kind of pageantry and I didn't understand it, and because nobody talked to me about it, and I would get in trouble in the CCD educational classes, and that's why I have no real education. When I was at that kind of age of reason where I could have taken more of it in, I didn't get the lessons, so it was kind of a clean slate. So when I heard Dr. Khalid Muhammad talk like that, I thought, okay. And I think that was the moment where I really just turned and felt like I have to study whatever he's talking about, because I've never heard anything like that before. And it's funny that I'm sitting on the floor, because that's kind of how it felt, very symbolically for me, of like, I'm just gonna take a seat over here on the floor, kind of like out of the way, and just start learning about what I don't know and didn't even know existed, to know that I didn't know, right? A totally different thing. And so this comment that I got was from an old friend of mine who, there wasn't like a lot of time. Adult friendships are hard because, you have the children, you have our collective homes that we take a break from and come together. And so, I don't think there was really a chance necessarily to get to know each other deeply. And so, I posted this clip of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan speaking truth, of saying that he is to black people what the Pope is to white people. And if you leave me alone and let me teach, I will be to white people what the Pope can never be. And the crowd goes, in agreement, lifts their voice in agreement. And so I shared that clip. And this woman, was one of those like closer association people I know in real life, who commented back, like, oh no, peace, and this is terrible, kind of thing. And I said, no, ma'am, like, this is just speaking straight facts. Like, I grew up in a Catholic family. I was never talked to about God. And then when I became, a teenager and learned of the sexual abuse scandal that just ravaged the Catholic Church, that the Pope never said anything about, and not that I'm going to get into a whole thing, but clearly it was beyond just not saying anything about it. It's just a demonic sickness that runs through the entirety of the Catholic Church, and there's really no other way to justify it. And so, how can we just continue to perpetrate this ideology of a man in a position and who doesn't use his power and influence and everything to put a stop to even the violation of the most innocent? Then how could he be a spiritual authority on anything? I responded kind of succinctly in the comments, but it felt good to just begin to have that conversation in a way that I hadn't had a chance to before, and to just kind of set the record straight of, actually, there isn't anything wrong with that, because a Savior has come for all of humanity, and here is the man who's representing him at this hour, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so, I was just very grateful, even though it's almost 2 o'clock in the morning, to still be up. And I feel like Fridays are always a really high energy evening. So anyway, this is night 30, and we are just plugging along, working on this goal. I say we, it's like me, and trying to keep the house together to support that I can keep going forward with the project. But anyway, it's 67 videos consistently posted in honor of the birth anniversary of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I was going to put up a birthday post for him on his 89th birthday, and then I got this prompt of you know, 67 years is a long time. You haven't even done anything for 67 days, so get started. So that's what these are. Tonight is night 30. If you find these conversations interesting, like, subscribe, leave me a comment to let me know that you watched it, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace.